It's just different.
Wouldn't be all of my mental. I'm from the trenches, went the same, yeah, been what I've been through. Left me on red, left for dead, man, it's really that simple. Now I'm too lit, all of my shit, design is original. Been facts, I never been fictional. Now that we live in the digital. Real ain't loyal, everybody ain't for it, real love and conditional. Ain't like them got the bros, man, it's all about principle. I never met one in love with a coochie that's visible. Ass shake, clickbait, no need.
What's good, Harrison House guys? It's your girl, Mickey.
And I am Stuart.
And today we are bringing you guys day 23 of our 28 days of celebrating Black excellence.
So, as we always say in the beginning of every one of these videos, if you guys did not watch our last video, day 22, then pause this video, pause it right now, and then go back and watch that video. In that video, we did cover the one and the only Ms. Whoopi Goldberg, who's very, very underrated. But if you guys want to learn more about her and see why you should follow her career and her movies and everything like that, then go back and watch that video. But today, as my baby said,
you guys do it today.
I'm definitely not doing all that. But
that's how I do it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were suggesting
no,
that.
That's how I do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I respect it. I'm not gonna do it that way. But today, a lot of people might not know this person, but we're gonna cover him anyway. It is a he. We're gonna cover. I don't know how I want to do this, but we're gonna cover Mr. Fritz Pollard. If you're a sports fan, then you probably know who Fritz Pollard is. If you are not, then you probably like, who the hell is that? Why they mama named him Fritz?
I had no clue at all.
All right, so to get into it, Fritz Pollard was a pioneer, to say the least. So Fritz Pollard was born Frederick Douglass Pollard, nickname is Fritz. He goes by Fritz, actually. He was born January 27th in 1894. Fritz Pollard is also from what I consider to be the greatest city on the planet Earth, Chicago, Illinois. He attended Lane Tech High School. It got a longer name, but we know about Lane Tech. Fun fact that me and Baby was just talking about, actually, I was supposed to go to Lane Tech, but Lane Tech had to wear uniforms, so I wasn't rocking with that. So I went to King instead. But he went there, and while attending Lane Tech, he did play football, baseball, and he ran track.
Okay. Yeah, a busy schedule.
Yeah, he was definitely busy. After he graduated from Lane Tech, Fritz Pollard did go on to attend Brown University. He was actually he played on their football team. He was the first ever African-American player at that school.
Oh, wow.
And he led the team to the Rose Bowl. If y'all don't know, the Rose Bowl is like in college, they have bowl games, kind of like Super Bowl, but like on a college level. Okay. And the Rose Bowl is like one of, if not the biggest game. It's other than like the national championship game, the Rose Bowl is like the big joint. Okay. He led them to their first ever Rose Bowl. They won, and he was the first, I believe they won. Fact check me on that one. But he was the first African-American player to ever play in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow. As
well. So that was pretty dope. And again, just a kid from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? But let me see what else. In college, he was also the first African-American player to be named to Walter Camp's All-America team. So it's kind of like just like the best of the best in college. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But what else?
In 1919, he went pro and joined the Akron Pros.
Yeah, from Akron, Ohio, actually, the LeBron from.
Okay. In 1920, the Akron Pros joined the American Professional Football Association, which later became the NFL, National Football League. So, in 1921, he actually became the first African American to coach in the NFL Pros. That is like shocking to me because he didn't. I mean, it's not like he didn't play that long, but he did. He got there in 15. So
yeah, okay. No, it was in 1919 he joined the Akron Pros. 1920 the Akron Pros, that's when they joined the NFL.
Right.
1921 he became the first ever first ever African American coach in the NFL, but he was a co-coach.
Gotcha.
So he still maintained his roster spot on the team. So he was a player coach.
Okay, because I was trying to figure that out, but I was like, okay, I didn't want to. I needed clarification, so I was going to ask.
So he still played full time on the team, but he was player coach as well. So he played and coached at the same time.
Okay. So he did become one of the first 2 black players in the NFL, along with Bobby Marshall.
Who?
Bobby Marshall.
Oh, it sounded like you said Barbie.
I said Bobby.
Bobby Marshall.
Yes. And he led the Akron Pros to the league's first championship, also in 1920.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was before my grandma was born.
Just think, like, though, he 1915 he was in college, but even just think, like, from when he went to college from 1915 to 1920. How many firsts? We keep saying first. That's true. It was like, God, dog.
That's true.
But he did, like what Babe said, he did become the coach, a co-coach for the Akron Pros in 1920. And then in 1921, in his career, after that, he did go on, he coached 4 different NFL teams.
Okay.
And it's weird because these teams don't have the same names as they do today. So it was the Akron Pros, the Milwaukee Badgers, the Hammond Pros. I'm assuming it's Hammond, Indiana, and then the Providence Steamrollers. Providence, I'm assuming that's Rhode Island, but the Providence Steamrollers. So he coached 4 teams in the NFL.
That's crazy.
Then in 1926, for some reason, it was by that time it was 9 total African American players in the NFL, and for some reason they was all removed from the league. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure I know why, but I don't want to speculate. You know what I'm saying? Because upon reading this, Fritz Pollard did talk a lot. He was vocal about the fact that people didn't like that he was not only in the NFL, but he was getting a player and a coach's salary. So he was one of the highest paid players in the league at that time. And he was just athletically, he was crazy. So, like, he was a super duper elusive running back. So hard to tackle, hard to catch, fast, genetics. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, they would not return to the NFL once they was removed for whatever reason.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. In 1928, he founded the Chicago Blackhawks football team, which I had no clue they had a Chicago Blackhawks football team. Yeah, I didn't know that. I only knew about Blackhawks being hockey. They played against a lot of white teams around Chicago and gained much success playing on the West Coast in the winter months as well.
That's a real Chicago thing to do. Like, he was really from, and I say this with all due respect, but he was from Chicago because a lot of they gained notoriety because they would invite teams from the West Coast, from teams from California, California, things like that, out to Chicago. So these teams were traveling from there to Chicago in the winter to play against Fritz Pollard and the Chicago Blackhawks. So them boys was not used to that weather.
No.
And they came out there and was freezing and they was getting their behinds kicked. But it was interesting because reading about this, it said that the Chicago Blackhawks obviously was based in Chicago, but they were one of the more popular teams on the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess to be the best, you got to play the best. So.
Yeah, exactly.
In the 1930s, he also founded the Brown Bombers. Okay.
Yeah. So it was another team. I couldn't find really when or if his relationship with the Chicago Blackhawks ended or why it ended. But once that did come to a conclusion, then he founded the Brown Bombers, and I'm assuming that team was based out of New York.
Okay. After the Great Depression caused the team to kind of unfold in 1938, he went on to pursue other ventures such as tax consulting, talent agency, and film and music production.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a completely different arena than sport.
Yeah, like he went a whole different route and was doing a lot of stuff. I'm not really into I didn't get a lot of the names. I didn't go this deep as you said. But it talked about some of the people he worked with and produced songs for, like musically. And the names, like it was a long time ago, so I'm pretty sure somebody remembers these people, but it was a lot of people that it said he worked with in the music industry. He also did own the New York Independent News from 1935 to 1942. It was purportedly the first black-owned tabloid paper in New York City. So that's kind of big because we all know how big like the gossip and everything.
Columns,
it's kind of so. Yeah, so he owned that in New York City of all markets.
Yeah,
like,
well,
that's
pretty big.
The biggest market in the country. But that was pretty dope. Excuse me.
He did pass away on May 11, 1986. Which is crazy because I was born in 87 and I don't know, I've never really heard of it. I don't have a lot of sports fanatics in my family though, so that could also be why I never personally heard of him. But he lived a very full life. It was 92?
Yeah, 92 because he was born in 1894.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so 92 years when he passed away. But he did, like you said, he lived a very, very full life. In 2005, he was actually inducted posthumously, of course, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And
so I got a question, real quick. So when they do Hall of Fame, isn't it only like 5 people they pick?
Each class, I believe it is 5 or 6 people.
So like technically they picked him and 4 other people, right? Because you don't. Right. Okay.
Yeah, because he still take up a spot, so it's like you know. So yeah, he did get inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like we talked about earlier in the video, he was the first African American player to play in the Rose Bowl in college. So in 2015, he was inducted posthumously into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame.
That's pretty good.
So that's pretty dope.
I like the fact that they do those awards posthumously because it is, if you did your due diligence and you were a great person in that field, I think you should still deserve to get the award. So I really like that they do those awards posthumously. I do. And also provides the family with that comfort and that sense of additional pride or whatever that they may feel in their loved ones.
So I feel like you were saying, he really lived a full life, and he was really like a man that he was great at sports, but he was like about his business. He was like about the people. You know what I'm saying? So he Paul Robeson was one of his friends actually.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like it's I don't want to say famous, but it's a picture of them two together, and so like that was pretty dope. And he spoke out about, like we talked about earlier, he spoke out about the fact that people didn't like that he was getting so much money back then. Being a co-coach and a player for the team and everything like that, he did get a lot of money. So he spoke out against, and this may be why they was removed, because he did speak out quite a bit about players getting what they were worth and stuff like that, and being hired equally as their white counterparts. So there is a alliance in the NFL called the Fritz Pollard Alliance. They do promote minority hiring throughout the NFL. That's my favorite sport. I love the NFL. I love football. I always have. But if y'all follow the NFL, it's completely different from the NBA. They don't have a lot of African American representation as far as coaching. So it's really big when you get like an African American coach. You know what I'm saying? That's why in Chicago, like people love Lovie Smith so much. Even though we never got the chip, we came close, but you know, Tony Dungy, stuff like that. Like, and then why a lot of people really was happy with this past Super Bowl when Tom Brady, the GOAT, won his seventh ring, because their team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had so much minority representation on that coaching staff. They even had 2 women coaches. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like really big. And it just shows that, like, you know, women and African Americans, they can teach this game too. They know this game, they can perform it, you know, everything like that. But that was a mouthful. Fritz Pollard is one of my like favorite. Like my dad, he's like a sports encyclopedia.
Yes.
So like I grew up hearing names like this as a kid. So it was refreshing to cover Fritz Pollard and then to, I guess, bestow, this knowledge upon people. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely hear and feel. Like I can feel it right here, but I'm hoping you guys can hear your enthusiasm, for lack of a better word, for this video.
I mean, it's one of the things. Like look at the hoodie I got on. It say 312. Like that's Chicago. But I love where I'm from. Just like most people, you should. Like you know what I'm saying?
I have to take pride in where I'm from.
Yeah, just like people from Houston or New York or LA, they probably feel like their cities are the greatest, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not gonna argue that. Like I just feel like for me, for my life, my experiences, and I'm just very proud of where I come from and that heritage. Like we talking about African American in general, but just when you start to narrow stuff down, like he was from Chicago. Like this is good to know that he grew up in the same place that I grew up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
no, I feel you on that one.
it's very exciting, and I just would like Fritz Pollard to be more well known, not just amongst sports buffs like myself, but just mainstream, because he did a lot out here. Like he really did.
You said it was a lot of firsts in covering him, so definitely someone worth knowing and just being familiar with.
Yeah,
even just to be able to recognize the name.
Yeah, definitely. But you guys, that was Fritz Pollard. Again, that was only the tip of the iceberg. If there's anything that we left out, then please let us know in the comment section down below. You know what I'm saying? We will be back with y'all tomorrow for day 24 of our 28 days of celebrating Black excellence. Of course, babe, it's not going to tell y'all who we're covering, so just stay tuned. Come back tomorrow, and we will definitely be dropping that video. But in the meantime, in between time,
we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
It's just different. When it be all of my mental. I'm from the trenches, went to saying, been what I've been through. Left me on red, left for